describe like Gabe's behavior, his like emotional state, and basically any other like factors that kind of contributed to any like emotional disturbances he had.
So one of the students, he's overall just a happy kid, but he wasn't allowed. I don't know all the reasons why allowed to have any contact with his mom. I know there might have been some abuse that went on, but his dad was his sole caregiver, and then his dad unfortunately made some poor decisions like the end of when he was in second grade, and he went to jail. And so Gabe ended up living with one of his aunts, and so that's when I met Gabe when he started living with one of his aunts in third grade. And he, like I said, he was overall pretty happy kid. But he would tell me sometimes she's mean to me, but it's okay. And then I think she had like a lot of kids and it just didn't work out and the aunt couldn't watch him anymore. So then he went to a different family, which was his like oh like it wasn't he was a younger like 20 a 21-year-old his uncle or something, and I started noticing just some behavior problems with him, like he'd get really angry really easily. He'd say no one loves me, no one likes me, and I could tell that wasn't his normal disposition, and I just kind of figured it's because he's been bouncing around so much different homes where he only would focus when he was on the computer. So I asked, what do you do when you're at your uncle's house? And he said, oh, he just puts me on the Xbox or the computer all day. So I noticed that was coming in through school where all he wanted to do was be on the computer. So I tried to call and talk to him like, hey, about the computer use, but I think CPS went and realized that that was not a good situation for him anymore. And they were gonna have to put him into a foster care. But then Gabe's dad's friend from like high school said, no, I don't want him to do that. I'll go ahead and take care of him. And so I talked to her about some of the problems I saw with how he only would work if he was on the computer, and or he'd get really, really defiant or upset if he wasn't. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna work with him on that. So she stopped into computer time with him. And so that got a lot better. And in between houses, he would get really, really upset at school where he would just throw temper tantrums and he'd have to sit by me the whole time at class, just sit directly by me. And then his behavior started to get better as I worked with his dad's friend from high school. And that went on for like 3 months. And I was happy to see him not getting as upset. But then she contacted me and said it was just too hard to have him there because sometimes he did lie and he wasn't always following directions. It was too hard on her family. So she couldn't be with him anymore. And so he came to school just crying and throwing fits and upset, and which I saw where he was coming from. It was really hard in our class situation because it ended up affecting the whole class. And then finally he was gonna be put into foster care again. And then the grandma stepped up and said, no, no, I'm gonna help. But he didn't really know this grandma very well. So he was pretty upset about that too. And he's like, you're the only person who hasn't left me so far. And I'd only known him for maybe 6 months now. And he said, and he would scream things like, you can't trust anybody, which because he had no foundation for his family. And when it became Mother's Day, he didn't know who to write Mother's Day card to. And so I even said there was like a speech teacher he'd worked with since kindergarten. You can write her one. And he said no, and ended up writing it to me because I was his most constant thing in his life. It's just so sad because he just had no support and he was just a mess. He would just anytime it was time to play outside, he would not leave my side. And if I said go play with your friends, he would go no, no, and he would just cry, I don't want to play with them. He just had nobody he felt safe with for consistently in his life. So anyways, the grandma came in, and it took a few months for like, him to get adjusted to her because he didn't know her. But then she started to like she worked at Walmart and got him new clothes, and because he was really needing them, and just started to give him his basic needs were met, and I could see his confidence grow. And then it was summertime, school year ended, and then his grandma's still with him, and his confidence had grown so much just being with that one constant person. He would still come to my class and be like, "I'm feeling anxious today. Can I come sit by you?" And I'd let him come sit by me, or and he'd say, "I'm good now. I'm good now. I'm not getting in trouble anymore." And I'm like, that's good. And his fits that he threw were pretty major fits. It was like ripping things, screaming, throwing. But he doesn't, once he had that constant in his life, he stopped doing that. So, anyways, there's a story about Gabe, and he's a sweet kid overall. But I think he's always going to have some emotional things he's gone through because he hasn't had just a constant person in his life. So, yeah,
Yeah,
who was stable in his life wasn't there.
yeah,
So,
I like that, especially because it's like I think a lot of times when we look on like the paper, we see how like they're not doing as well as other students in class, but there's a lot, and like you just need that love and that praise, which is awesome. That's what you gave.
yeah.
Were you able to, I know you like mentioned that you're able to talk to Gabe's father's friend about like his situation, how to support him better. Were you able to talk with like other people at the school for like a support system with him
Yeah,
or like with
yes. So we have a social, our Title I schools, they have social workers, and the social worker would come and meet with him like once a month and just talk to him, which helped a little bit. And we also had social emotional learning that happened after 2020. And they would come in. I started when it got really bad, started having them come in almost every day and be with him for just like a half an hour and go talk to him in a room. And that really, really helped just having one-on-one time with somebody. So yeah, and then his like teachers from the year before would be like, have him come in my room and he can be my helper. And I would have him do that. So I mean, we did a lot of different things to help him, but I didn't see a huge, huge drastic change until he had that constant in his life. That was the family support was the biggest difference for him.
like you were his constant, but did you have any like strategies or anything that like you found effective in helping him in like his behavior while like helping him learn? Because I mean, I was there one time with you when he had one of his moments with like I think he broke like a whiteboard, like crazy,
Yeah.
right? But like how do you
Right.
manage that? Or like how did you find what
I
was
think
effective for
just like staying really calm and saying, I know that's hard. And I know that, well, whatever happened in that situation that frustrated you. Why don't you just come sit by me for a minute? For him, we do have a calm down table in the classroom, but for him, that didn't really help. He just wanted to sit by me, like sit by an adult that he could trust. So, and I kind of learned I would say go to the calm down table, but he would just end up breaking everything at the calm down table because he was so upset.
Yeah.
So I was like, just come sit by me. And I would just like try to be really patient and understand, like, I know how hard it is, but you're okay. And he would just sit by me and do his work by me. And if he was like, I'm not doing work, I'm not going to do it, I'd be like, okay, well, why don't you write a word? And then I'll write a word. And you write a word. And then I'll write a word. And we would do that. And then he was like, okay, I can do this now. And I would modify a lot of the assignments because the third grade work was just too hard for him. So I would take it, and if it was like, "Hey, you're writing 5 sentences," where I would just have him look at the picture and write 1 sentence, and then really praise him. "Wow, you did a great job," because his confidence was really struggling. And it's not that he wasn't smart enough to do it, it's because his confidence with, who was stable in his life wasn't there.
If you were given, like another student that had a kind of a similar, I feel like with your school, you kind of get a lot of similar backgrounds in the sense, how do you, like, how has his experience kind of changed how you approach like new ones that are similar?
I always make sure if I see some of those signs that I talk to the social emotional learning. There's a lady that works in there and talk to her about that student and just make a time where she can work with him because it's hard when I have, like 25 kids in my class, or last year I had 29 with him, to be able to give him that one-on-one, because those are really what those kids are craving, is one-on-one time. To find somebody in the school, which we have, that can take them for 30 minutes and just kind of work with them those things. And then I also got him statted for resource in a small group because those kids really need that small group attention. So that was one thing I did that helped him a lot. And you can get in resource work, even though he was really a smart kid, because he was going through so much things social emotionally, that his grades were being impacted. And so he qualified for resource, because if your IQ is really high but you're performing at a lower level, that's when you can qualify for resource. And so that gave him that smaller structure, which he probably will graduate now because he's doing a lot better. But I made sure I had those in place for him. So when he went for the next grader, when I see kids like that now, I just know that they need that extra support. So I try to find things in my school to help them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like you can give a lot of school support, but that background still needs to
Yeah.
be there. Yeah.
Mhm.
Just like my last question for you is,
Mhm.
how has working with Gabe affected you personally and professionally, and what have you learned that influences your approach to similar situations in the future?
So how has it affected me?
Yeah,
Pers
like personally,
um,
professionally,
well,
and your,
just to take the time to really, like, every kid, I mean, when you're in school, they always say, have that calm area and have that this, which, yeah, those are great things to have. But what I learned is that if you get to know the kid on a personal level, like really like understanding what he's been through, it was helped me to be more compassionate towards him and help him understand what he needed a little bit more. Um, so, and then professionally, it just helps you to know for each kid, really understand their background, because they're all individual. They
yeah,
all have individual things going on, and if you don't understand what's going on, you might not be as patient or understanding for their certain situation.